having an issue with my lighting. Okay. Right up, my mouth is getting so dry because I don't want to really talk about this. Maybe I should get a hard candy. Anyway, I have had certain people ask me about my PTSD. I don't feel as though there's very many people that are educated in this area, or maybe they're just ignorant of what PTSD is. Now, I know that our soldiers, a lot of our soldiers come back from war with PTSD, and they are the most common that talk about it. I have PTSD and I'm not a soldier. I do often say that I am a soldier of my own life. At a very young age, things happened. Wow. I don't even know how to begin this. I had everything in my head, just, this is what we're going to go through. This is what we're going to talk about. I have it all written down here. And then now I'm looking at everything. I even have my books, I have my books. And I have been diagnosed through 2 different psychiatrists with complex PTSD. Which complex PTSD basically means I have a chronic PTSD that it'll probably never go away. This is something I will have to deal with the rest of my life. And there are people out there that, like doctor's offices per se, when you say, I have PTSD, they look at you and go, what? I mean, you look like Leave It to Beaver's Joan Cleaver. I mean, how could you possibly have PTSD? You don't look all that bad. And I often wonder, have these people ever been trained in PTSD? There are classic signs and symptoms of PTSD: night terrors, lashing out, anger fits, one of the flashbacks where you have daydreams of being in war. I have all those symptoms, every single one of them. Now, complex PTSD, mind you, I'm going to put my glasses on. Emotional flashbacks, toxic shame, I have that. Self-abandonment, I have that. Social anxiety, I have that. Objective feelings of loneliness and abandonment, I have that. Fragile self-esteem, hello, I have that. Now on here, you might not think that I have self-esteem issues. That's because I'm talking to a camera. There is no way that if I thought tens of thousands of people were to sit in front of me and I would have to talk, there would be no way I could do that. Absolutely no. I'd be fumbling all over. I'd be throwing up on the stage. Attachment disorder. Hello, have that. Developmental arrest. You could say I have issues with that because even though I try to learn, there's not very, very often that I can because I go so far and then I stop. Radical mood variations. Hello, I can go from zero to crying, to screaming and yelling, to feeling regret. I mean, I can go through the vehement of everything like in 5 minutes, if not less. Let's see. I have a problem mental processing things. Hair trigger, fight or flight. Oh God, yes, I have that. Um, I don't handle stress situations very often, and suicidal ideations. Now, to today's date, I do not have suicidal ideations. If you would have asked me that 2 years ago, 2 years ago, I had a gun to my, I had a, oh, that is so hard to say. I had a gun to my up in my mouth. I had a gun in my mouth. A couple of years ago, before 3 years ago now, I sought psychiatric help because I found myself with a gun in my mouth. Gun, I can't even say it now. A gun in my mouth. I was having flashbacks of something I don't care to discuss on the World Wide Web, but it was bad enough for me to think bad enough about myself to want to kill myself. I wasn't thinking about my family. I wasn't thinking about my son or my grandchildren. I wasn't thinking about my mom or my husband for that matter. And I was just thinking that this pain was never going to go away, and I was going to feel this pain for the rest of my life. It was never going to go away. Okay, so I'm going to script this for you. I'm talking like back in the 90s. Well, maybe it wasn't that far. It was late 90s, early 2000s. I started having flashbacks like you would not believe of an incident that happened to me when I was a child. I am one of those wonderful people that suppress things. If my brain can't handle it, it goes back into a box for later use of opening. And I started having flashbacks, not only just flashbacks like when I'm dreaming, when I'm sleeping. I'm talking about when I'm driving down the street, I would have a flashback of a molestation. And I thought I was going crazy, literally crazy. And I went and I got help back then, and I figured, okay, the symptoms are gone. I'm not having night terrors anymore. I'm not having any more day terrors. I'm doing good. So why continue to go to a psychiatrist when I'm feeling good, right? Now, check back in 3 years, just 3 years ago, which almost 20 years later, I started having not the same ones, but different ones. And literally thought back to the first time it happened, thought back to the second time it happened when I sought help, and now the third time it's happened. Literally thought that I could not do this again. Just I'm over this. I can't do this again. The moment of dread. How many more times is this going to happen to me? To the point of I literally was going to put a gun to my mouth and just get it over with and not have to deal with it anymore, because it's so painful. It is so painful. Not only that, but on top of that, I have chronic migraines that at any point were so horrific that I would be in bed sometimes up to 3 days. So at times it was like, okay, I'm done with this mess. Can't you please just take all this away? I'm just kind of over it, and I'm tired. I was tired. I remember that being to the point of of wanting to commit suicide. I was emotionally tired, mentally tired, physically tired. I was in pain. I couldn't even think for myself at that point. And I was done. I was to the point of I was done. Done. And I remember the moment that my son texted me. He texted me pictures of my granddaughters in their Easter outfits. And that snapped me back to reality of I do not want to leave this legacy with my grandkids or my son. It was a very sobering moment in my life. And I told my husband that I was going to make an appointment with a psychiatrist as soon as I could. So that's where that is. And I have PTSD from several different occasions in my life. And it's not just from my childhood. It's from being abandoned from 2 husbands. My first husband, we were young. We were very young, very scared. And he just decided one day that he couldn't be a husband and a father. Well, you can't just stop being a father, so I guess you're going to stop being a husband. So that was very hard to swallow. And then my second husband was a cheater and mentally abusive. So between those two, and then I got into another relationship in the early 2000s that he was an alcoholic and he was abusive. So I have a lot of different combinations of things that would cause a person to have PTSD, complex PTSD. I don't do crowds very well anymore. Now, when I was a child, if you knew me now from when I was a child, you'd think that I wasn't even the same person. Because when I was a child, I was very outspoken. Well, I'm very outspoken now anyway. But I was very driven. I was very driven as a child. And if you told me I couldn't do something, I was born to prove you wrong. Absolutely was born to prove you wrong. But life happens and things change in your life, and people that come into your life and hurt your psyche. So things happen. I watched a lot of people die. I went into a nursing and I worked in an elder care, and I watched a lot of people die alone. And that was quite scary to me, to think that maybe someday I may die alone. I worked as an EMS worker and watched some horrific things fly down the hill with, you're in the ambulance holding somebody's arm together. So life happens to somebody that is already, but doesn't realize it because you suppress things, but you're already kind of fragile in that area. So yes, a non-military person can have PTSD. This is another book. I talked about it in my last video. This is that book I was talking about. And that's the author. So I have this. You can go on to Amazon and you can order this book. As a matter of fact, I went ahead and ordered this book for my psychiatrist. Or you can have the audio, the Amazon audio. I'm going to get it wrong. I know I am because I didn't write it down. And you can listen to it and you can buy it for 1 credit. I got it on, I have both. I got the book and I have it on audio. But don't mistake that for the Kindle. This is for Amazon audio, the book audio. But I got this one for my psychiatrist because I really think that she would enjoy this book. Healing the fragmented selves of trauma survivors, because I'm a trauma survivor. Ooh, that got bright, didn't it? I don't know. I'm a trauma survivor. And there was a lot of trauma in my life. My father was killed when I was 13. He was a high-powered linesman and was electrocuted to death. That was 13 years old. That was really hard to swallow. There's just so many things that if you point at different things that happened in my life from just a young child up to my adult life, you would wonder why I am not in some park corner smoking crack or meth, or being a prostitute, an alcoholic. I don't drink alcohol because I have too many medications that I take for my my head disorders. The disorders of my head. That's a whole nother book I'm going to write. I swear I'm going to write a book about all this. I could write a book about my childhood and all the crap that I've had go on in my life, and I probably would cure myself just by understanding everything that's happened to me. My husband now is wonderful. I mean, men are just, a lot of them are I don't know if they use the excuse that, hey, we're men and to get away with things, or are they really that way? Sometimes I wonder. Because my husband, there's times where he's wonderful. He's thoughtful, he's engaging, he's really wonderful. And then there's times where I'm like, where did you go? And who did you send back? Why did I get this? I'm not understanding this. So, but no, he does everything in his ounce in order for us to be able to spend time together. And when I say spend time together, I mean going fishing and hunting and doing things together on the weekends. During the week, we just kind of lay back and work around the house and whatnot. But on the weekends, we try to get out into the ocean and do fishing. Yes, I'm talking. I'm not talking about you. Uh-oh, I talked to him. He might come over here. Nope, he's just going so... No, you can't get up there. Well, hello, Charles Irby, my son. He texted me. Sorry about that. I always mean to turn off my sound, but I just don't. But anyway, that's what I wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about is my CPS. No, I don't have CPS after me. No, I don't talk to CPS. But my PTSD. My complex, it's called CPTSD, something like that. Complex PTSD. So, and me trying to fix my complex brain and the way I think. It's really hard to go. All right, son, stop it. It's really hard to go from thinking one way all your life. I really thought that my life was normal until I had a nervous breakdown. And the psychiatrist said, no, that's not really normal. And then I tried to say something like, well, isn't normal how you set your own mindset? And she looked at me again and went, no, I'm sorry. sorry, that's not normal. So I started reading a lot about different things and how I was treating people. And I started journaling every day. And then I would journal every day, but I wouldn't really read back into it until I went back to see her. And then when I read what I wrote, I was like, yeah, that's not really normal, is it? So I thought that kids were supposed to be alone all the time and not really know where their parents were. I mean, I was raised in the 70s. Come on. My mom, now granted, my mom's a good mom. Don't get me wrong. It's just, it was the era we were brought up in. And I granted parents have choices. They didn't have to go down the street and go drinking at the bar, and leave us at home alone. It was choices. There was choices that were involved with young children that were involved. And my mom has already talked to us about the way we were brought up, and she's already asked for forgiveness. And I'm not going to browbeat my mom because my mom's a good mom. Nowadays, she's a wonderful, wonderful person. Ooh, my bra strap's out. Sorry. So I'm not going to browbeat her for something that happened in the past because I can't. My emotional problems are my emotional problems, and I have to deal with them the way I see fit. But I can't. No, don't get up there. Lay down. No, you're going to ruin my crochet. Lay down. Oh, I have a bunch of stuff up here that's got just, it would be a disaster if you jumped up in another chair. So anyway, my mom's a good person and she deserves to be treated with respect. But anyway, my granny Bon used to tell me normal's a setting on the washing machine. And I used to look at her and go, yes, so is agitate. And she would laugh like crazy. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to get off here because I've been on here for 22 minutes now. My last couple of videos have been quite long. And I know people get bored like after 5 minutes. So if you have made it to 22 minutes, God bless you. God bless you. And I am going to let you go. So, Tristanimi, out. Mwah.